Level 1. The gift shop. You're 11. The pumice is light in a way rocks aren't supposed to be. Your dad pays $4.95 for it. The cashier slides it into a brown paper bag like it's lunch. Outside the window, the crater is still there. The ridge across the valley is still there. The plaque on the wall reads, David A. Johnston, killed May 18th, 1980. He was 30. You ask your mom what 30 means in years, and she says it's older than your brother and younger than her. You don't say anything for the rest of the drive home. That night, you Google David Johnston. Vancouver, Vancouver, this is it. You play the audio loop on a public archive 6 seconds long on your dad's laptop 11 times. You write the words on a napkin and put it in your sock drawer. You buy In the Path of Destruction by Richard Waite for $32 on your 12th birthday. You read about Harry Glicken, who relieved Johnston the night before and lived another 11 years before Mount Unzen killed him in 1991. You read about the Crafts, who died on the same pyroclastic flow. 3 volcanologists, 40 civilians, 1 ridge. You start a rock notebook. Obsidian, scoria, basalt, andesite, dacite. You learn the words before you learn what magma viscosity actually is. Your 6th grade teacher tells your parents you have an unusual focus. You don't know yet that the BLS median for geoscientists is $99,240, or that less than 10% of geology majors ever set foot on an active vent. You wouldn't have believed it anyway. You're 11 and you've already decided. Level 2, the undergrad. You're 19. The geology department at the state school is in the basement of the chemistry building. It smells like wet rock and old coffee. You declare your major the first week. Your advisor, a structural geologist named Dr. Hollis with a missing ring finger and a Patagonia vest, older than you, tells you volcanology is a bad career choice. He says it twice. You write it down. Tuition is $11,400 a year in state. Books are $1,300. You take out federal loans for both. Your work-study job is washing thin sections in the lab for $13.20 an hour. You make $4,200 a year. The math doesn't work. You don't care. Mineralogy in the fall. Petrology in the spring. You learn to identify olivine and cross-polarized light. You learn that 90% of the Earth's crust is feldspar, and you'll never look at a sidewalk the same way. You memorize the Bowen reaction series on a sticky note above your bed. Your roommate thinks you're insane. Field camp the summer after junior year. 6 weeks in the Wasatch Range. $4,890. Not covered by aid. You fly to Salt Lake on a Tuesday with a Brunton compass your grandmother bought you, and boots you broke in on a treadmill. You sleep in a canvas tent. You map a 1/4 square mile of basalt in 14-hour days. You vomit the first time you eat MREs for breakfast. You finish the camp 11 pounds lighter and with a 96 in the course. Dr. Hollis emails you congratulations and reminds you again that volcanology is a bad career choice. You apply for a volunteer summer at the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory through their student internship program. 200 applicants. They take 8. You don't make it. The rejection email comes on a Thursday in March of your senior year. You read it on your phone in the campus laundromat and cry into a pillowcase. You graduate in May. Cum laude. $58,400 in federal loans. No job lined up. The PhD applications are due in December. Level 3. The grad student. You're 25. 6 schools rejected you. The 7th, a state R1 with a real volcanology group, offered $26,500 a year, full tuition waiver, and a TA slot in intro geology. You signed in February. You moved in August. The town has 1 stoplight and a bar called The Outcrop. Your advisor is a woman named Dr. Ellen Stark. She did her postdoc with Don Swanson at HVO. She has been to 47 volcanoes. She tells you on day 1 that her last 3 students took 6.8 years to finish, and that she does not believe in 5-year PhDs. You nod. You don't sleep well that night. Coursework first. Igneous petrology, geochemistry, volcanic processes, numerical methods. You pass quals in your 2nd spring on the 3rd try. The first 2 attempts, you fail the geophysics section. You learn what cratonic lithosphere means at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday in March, alone in the department library, eating a granola bar. Now, your field work is at Sunset Crater in Arizona. Cinder cone, basaltic. Last erupted 940 years ago. Not glamorous. Stark tells you the dramatic volcanoes go to her senior students. You hike 9 miles a day with a 38-pound pack and a Trimble GPS unit she signed out of the equipment cage. You sample 247 lava bombs over 2 summers. You ship them home in USPS flat rate boxes at $22.85 a piece. The snap-on equivalent in your world is a Bruker handheld XRF, $42,000. The lab has one. You sign for it like a loan. You scratch the screen on a basalt face in your 4th field season and don't sleep for a week. The repair is covered. You age 4 years that night. Stark hands you a copy of In the Path of Destruction, the same book you bought when you were 12. She doesn't know that. She tells you to read about Harry Glicken. You do again. Glicken was 33 when Mount Unzen killed him in June of 1991, alongside Morris and Katia Kraft. 43 people died on that flow. 3 were volcanologists. You read the Smithsonian Global Volcanism Network report. The Kraft's watch stopped at 4:18 p.m. You write the time on a sticky note and put it inside the cover. Your stipend goes up to $29,000 in your 4th year. Rent is $1,150. Your truck transmission goes out in February and costs $3,200 you don't have. You eat ramen for 6 weeks. You publish your first paper in the Journal of Volcanology and Geothermal Research in your 5th year, second author behind Stark. The paper gets cited 4 times in 18 months. You frame the printout. Your grad school friends are quitting. The PhD attrition rate in earth sciences runs near 50% per the Council of Graduate Schools. Marco from your cohort took a job at an oil services company in Houston for $112,000. He texts you a photo of his first paycheck. You stare at it for a long time. You defend in your 7th year. 8.5 hours, 6 committee members, 3 rounds of revisions. You walk out a doctor. The USGS Mendenhall Postdoctoral Fellowship application opens the next Monday. Level 4, the postdoc. You're 31. The Mendenhall didn't come through. 8% acceptance rate. You got the rejection on a Friday in April. You drove to a turnout above the river and sat in your truck for 2 hours. The offer that came through was a 2-year soft money postdoc at a university lab in Oregon. $54,200 a year. No benefits past month 18. You took it on a Tuesday. You moved with 2 suitcases and a roof rack box of rock samples you couldn't bring yourself to throw out. Your PI is a guy named Aaron Lerman, mid-50s. 3 NSF grants. Runs the INSAR group. He tells you the deal on day 1. Publish 4 papers in 2 years or you're done. You learn what soft money means by month 3 when his grant gets cut and your contract end date moves up 6 weeks. You go to AGU in San Francisco that December. 23,000 attendees. $785. Registration. You give a 12-minute talk in a session called Subduction Zone Magmatism. 4 at 8 a.m. on a Thursday. 14 people show up. 2 of them are eating breakfast. One of them, a woman with gray hair and a USGS lanyard, asks the only sharp question. Her badge says Christina Neal. You don't know yet that she ran the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory through the 2018 eruption response. You find out on the plane home. You install your first seismometer array that summer in the Cascades. 6 stations. $98,000 in equipment from the lab. $11,400 in your travel budget. You hike 14 miles to the highest station with a 52-pound pack. You break a rib on the descent. You don't tell anyone for 3 weeks. You publish 3 papers in 22 months. Not 4. Lerman writes you a recommendation anyway because he likes you. You apply to 31 jobs that cycle. 28 rejections. 2 silences. 1 phone screen at a community college teaching intro geology. You don't take it. The BLS lists about 2,000 geoscientist openings a year, most in oil and gas, most in Houston. There are roughly 200 actual volcanology positions in the country. The math, finally, is the math. A USGS 12 vacancy posts on USA Jobs in October. Hawaiian Volcano Observatory closes in 14 days. You rate it 11 times. Level 5. The observatory. You're 38. You got the GS-12 in March. Step 1. Hilo locality. $89,711 base. You signed a federal employment offer at a kitchen table in Oregon and FedExed it back the same afternoon. You sold your truck. You shipped 14 boxes to Hawaii. You started on the first Monday of June. The Hawaiian Volcano Observatory was founded in 1912 by Thomas Jagger. You knew that before you arrived. What you didn't know was that the building you'd worked toward for 27 years was still being rebuilt after the 2018 Kilauea eruption damaged the original structure beyond repair. You work out of temporary offices in Hilo for your first 18 months. The trade-off is that you spend more time in the field than any first-year scientist in the program's recent history. Kilauea's Summit Lava Lake at Halema-Uma'u is your beat. You read DOAS spectrometer data for sulfur dioxide flux. You analyze tilt meter records. You write status updates that go out on the Volcano Notification Service to 78,000 subscribers. The alert level scale runs normal, advisory, watch, warning. You learn what each one costs in lawsuits, evacuations, and trust. The math is finally yours. $89,711 plus 21.94%. Hilo locality. Health insurance through FEHB. TSP match at 5%. You buy a used Tacoma for $24,000 and pay it off in 3 years. You meet Christina Neal again at a program meeting in Reston. She remembers you from the AGU talk. She asks how the seismometer array in the Cascades is doing. You don't have the heart to tell her 2 stations got buried by an avalanche in 2022. She tells you she's stepping back from senior leadership in 3 years and that the program is watching the next generation. You don't know if she means you. You think about it on the plane home for 6 hours. You make GS-13 in your 4th year. $109,777 at step 5. You publish a paper on long-period earthquake clustering that gets cited 41 times in 14 months. You get invited to give the closing talk at the IAVCOS General Assembly in Naples in 2030. Your father dies in the spring of your 6th year. You're at a field site on Mauna Loa when the call comes. You fly home for 72 hours. You come back to a memo on your desk. The David A. Johnston Cascades Volcano Observatory is hiring a scientist in charge. Level 6. The scientist in charge. You're 52. You took the SIC position at the Cascades Volcano Observatory in Vancouver, Washington on a Tuesday in October. GS-15, Step 4. $164,820 base before locality. You signed the paperwork in the same building Dave Johnston would have walked into if he'd lived. The plaque in the lobby has been there since 1982. You don't fix volcanoes anymore. You manage 41 staff scientists, a $14 million annual budget, 4 congressional briefings a year, and a press relationship with every TV station in the Pacific Northwest. The first Monday you walked in as SIC, you adjusted the thermostat in the conference room. That was the entire job that day. Mount St. Helens is your beat now. So is Glacier Peak, Mount Hood, Mount Baker, Mount Rainier, and the Three Sisters. 6 high-threat volcanoes per the National Volcano Early Warning System. You sign the alert level decisions. You learn that the legal weight of moving Rainier from normal to advisory is roughly 280,000 evacuations and a stock dip in regional lumber. You learn what each elevation costs the people you'll never meet. Your back surgery is in 2042, year 3 on the job. The Bureau of Labor Statistics lists geoscientist injury rates as low, but they don't count the cumulative load of 30 years of 50-pound packs at altitude. You spend 11 weeks in physical therapy. You come back to a swarm at Mount Hood that turns out to be tectonic, not magmatic. A graduate student from Oregon State emails you in March of your 5th year. She wants to know if you'd give a talk to her cohort about career paths. You say yes. You drive down on a Friday. She meets you in the lobby of the geology building. She's 24. She's holding a copy of In the Path of Destruction. You sign it for her after the talk. You drive home with the radio off. Your retirement paperwork sits in a drawer in your office. You take it out the next morning, Level 7, Johnston Ridge. You're 65. The retirement ceremony was on a Friday in June. They gave you a framed photograph of the Coldwater 2 observation post at 7 p.m. on May 17th, 1980, the night before Dave Johnston died. You hung it in your hallway. You walked out of the Cascades Volcano Observatory for the last time at 4:47 p.m. and drove north on I-5 with the windows down. The drive to Johnston Ridge takes 92 minutes from Vancouver. You did it 184 times in your career. You do it once more. The visitor center opened in 1997. It cost $10.5 million. You stand in the lobby where the granite memorial lists the 57 names. You read Johnston's first, the way you've read it every visit since you were 11. You walk out to the overlook. The crater is still there. The ridge is still there. The pumice field below has been recolonized by lupine and fireweed and elk grass. A woman in a USGS jacket is briefing a small group on the deck. She's 38. She's the new SIC at HVO. You hired her as a postdoc 11 years ago. She doesn't see you. You don't interrupt. A kid is in the gift shop holding a piece of pumice. He's 11. His mother is paying $6.95. You watch him for 14 seconds. He doesn't look up. He doesn't know you. He doesn't know that the woman briefing the group on the deck started exactly where he is, and that the man who once stood where she stands started exactly where he is now. You drive home. The house is paid off. Your wife is in the garden. Your back hurts. The pumice you bought 54 years ago is on the mantle. The napkin from the sock drawer is gone. The book Stark gave you is on the shelf, dog-eared at page 247. You kept showing up. That was the whole trick. 3 volcanologists died on the job in your country in your lifetime. You weren't one of them. The mountain is still there.